What's up, Fighter Sam Battlefield here. Thank you very much for joining me on this journey. Looking at basically the third episode of Ecological Dynamics and implementing at least the journey of implementing it into my training and my classes. I'm having some success. I'm finding certain things. Yesterday, not sure how much I went into what I was doing yesterday, but my God, I look like a crazy man going in with some of these things that I've been drawing. Let's just do a quick, there's this, and then I'll sort of, kind of feel like that meme where, there's what's his name from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and he's got like all the strings attached and everything, and he's like, looking crazy eyes sort of thing. Listening to a whole heap of, again, I'm about halfway through learning to optimize movement after reading or listening to Rob Gray's first book. Just got a heap out of it. There's one of the biggest takeaways I'm having at the moment is trying to focus on external rather than internal. So the Rob Gray stuff that Rob Gray's talked about in those books quite heavily is when you get someone when you sort of focus on the examples that he gave was things like golf swing, baseball bat, that sort of thing. And when you look at the optimum positioning, etc., and you say, okay, well, there is an optimum, say, angle of the arm or angle of the shoulder, and that's what that person needs to fix. But if you say to them, concentrate on your elbow or your shoulder angle and like make it more acute or wider or whatever the case may be, then they focus, their mentality or their mental goes to their mind goes to the shoulder. Too many mind, no mind. Right? Anyway, and what happens then is the rest of the body doesn't self-organize to make it hit, to get the perception and then the action, right? So I'm starting to use the lingo as well, which is interesting. But anyway, part of the thing with like the golf swing is, if you teach them, bend your elbow a bit more or whatever the case may be, then what's going to happen is they're going to focus on that. The rest of their body doesn't work in tandem with it, and so it then fucks out, right? What I've noticed is in my journey, my jiu-jitsu journey overall, is exactly that. So when people have told me, and I heard it thousands upon thousands of times, you just need to use your hips more. And so when I focus on my fucking hips, nothing happens because I'm focused on my hips, right? Nothing else is working in tandem. But the moment I started saying destabilize, my body just worked in tandem. Like my body just worked together and destabilized them. And then that was it. It just happened for me. And I was like, okay, well there's a in my personal experience, internal language didn't work. So working on just use your hips. What the fuck does that mean? And I even said this before I started this journey, probably about 6 months ago. I was like, everyone keeps telling me, use your hips. And I got a glimmer of what it meant at one point, and I thought I was on the right track, and then I was like, but then I started using the terminology, just use your hips, increase your hip movement, move your hips, blah, 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 which all that does is just focus on the hips. As soon as I got that out of my head, like, I was escaping with minimal effort. I'm talking minimal effort. I mean, it was amazing to me that I could just be like 1, 2, and I was destabilising them, but I was also moving my body in a way that got them out the way, which allowed me to put more space between us, which then allowed me to get my legs in, and then all of a sudden I've got guard, or I'm out the side, or whatever. And I did that knowing that all I had to do was destabilise. Well, not knowing that, but so, and what tends to happen is you've got this conscious control of movement, right? So I've got a few notes here. Another thing, so anyway, I want to sort of go back. So I developed a practice design through yesterday, and I wanted to go back through. So I spent quite a lot of time, like hours, thinking about it while also listening to these to the books. But I spent hours thinking about this practice and how I could do it. So initially we did the get to the hips game. So as much of the body to the hips as possible for top and bottom. I did it for, I think, 2 minutes or even a bit longer, and I probably should have done it, that one, really rapid fire. That one should have been just like, yep, get everyone in the mood, get everyone warmed up, blah, blah, blah. And then I should have gone, I went a little bit too long again with, just because we were swapping partners. So we were doing top and bottom, turning it round, and then swap partners, top and bottom, turning it round. And I did flat, but with the underhook and get to the side. And then the next game was you flat, and the person on top has the underhook and the crossface, and you had to get the underhook back and then get to your side. I probably could have amalgamated those two and just gone straight to the, you have to get your underhook back and then to your side, and just made that the game, possibly. That's potentially what I should have done, but the emergent behaviour from the emergent behaviour from the first game where they already had the underhook, I think gave them the feeling that the underhook was powerful, because that was something that that came up quite when we sat down to discuss the insights. And I'm calling them aha moments. Alex is calling them light bulb moments. I'm going to call them aha, just because I want to stamp my own brand on it a little bit, but it's also kind of something that I've used in the past. So I don't really use light bulb moments. I've used the aha moment. I don't know why I put that detail in. Anyway, but yeah, the importance of that underhook started really presenting itself. But more importantly, they were realizing that when someone was weighted on the top, then they had more space at their hips to work. So that was awesome. And then we played the last game, which was a bit longer, which was, I tried to keep that external sort of thing where I wanted to get them just to look at the person's back. So if they could get to see the person's back, then they won. And that could be either by going, so they'd start with an underhook, with a low underhook, but on their side, and if they could get underneath the shoulder and overlook the back, then they won. Or if they could get underneath and get their head on the other side of the hip, then they won. All right, and essentially that was setting up to show them that once they get those two, they've essentially done the sweep, right? I probably need to work a little bit on that backwards one, but the goal for this one was to show getting under the shoulder actually gets you up and able to push them over, etc. Tabletop concept, etc. Couple of insights that were taken away. I mentioned before, when they're top heavy, their hips easy able to be destabilized. I was trying to think of an analogy, where, I used to use the analogy of the Nintendo, because that's what one of my old coaches used. But I don't think that's a good analogy, because it's a simple 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 1 1 2 2 2 2. That is too simple. You're not necessarily doing it in any kind of order, like 1 1 1 2 2 2 2. What are the destabilising thing? If you rock a boat, like if you're trying to destabilise someone in a boat, then and you're on the end and they're standing up, you don't just go wah 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 wah, because they can go with that. But what you do is you shake, like shaking a bridge. So I'm trying to think of an analogy around that for destabilisation. I did pick up that, purple belts are probably that I'm probably picking up a lot more out of this than I don't know. I think that the white belts are picking something up from it. I noticed that Ben was still focused when he got in that last game. For some reason, his underhook was on the wrong side, and he just doggedly held on to it as if that was some sort of as if that was something that he could work with. And I didn't want to point it out to him, because I kind of wanted that emergent behaviour to occur, where he sort of realised, well, this isn't working. But I think because he was under Jaden, and Jaden wasn't advancing from it, he felt safe. So I'd be interested to figure out how I can... I can already see that he's improved getting the underhook and doing it on the right, on the correct side. He just doesn't seem to still get that needs to be when you're on the... I'm seeing the issue with discussing it from a perspective of steps, and I wonder if that's something that I do still need to do when I'm talking to him directly about certain things. So maybe I'm trying too hard to constrain my own language, which is very likely. Now that I think about it, it's probably very likely. I should have pulled him aside and said, hey, you've maintained the underhook on the wrong side. Be interesting to, that's what I'm looking at. I also had a bit of a chat. So with there was a Kip Dale seminar who does a lot of these task-based games. If you don't know Kip Dale, then I don't even know how you got this far in this discussion, because Kip Dale's well-known Australian competitor, and also one of the sort of first vocal people that I ever heard about task-based games. And I've watched a few of his task-based games. I'm not too impressed with them. It just kind of reminds me of so talking about purple belts before, I know from my experience, like when I discover that I'm shit in a certain position, I put myself in that position. So I'll be like, right, like at the start of this year, I was like, my guard's shit. I need to work on my guard. All right. And I was having a chat with Aaron this morning after class, and I was like, my guard, remember when we worked on my guard? Us purple belts, we identify this stuff, and then we go, okay, can we just work on that? And so we get into a pattern, and we just go, right, I'm going to work on this very specific task until I'm comfortable with it again, and it sort of brings everything up to my to where I am with everything else. And I think that's, there's a bit of an experiencing there, which is why I'm kind of like, well, is there something more that needs to be done for white belts? Which there probably is, to be honest, now that I think about it. But I think we're still getting a lot out of it, but purple belts are going to get more out of this, I suppose. I don't really know. Yeah. So anyway, having a bit of a think about how how higher belts are going to do it. Back to Kit Dale, his task-based games. I've heard Gordon Ryan talk about and John Danaher talk about how they would just put themselves in the shittest position and then try and work out from it. Tap it a bunch of times, but ultimately shit position, try and work out from it, blah, blah, blah. And the reason why I bring up Kit Dale is he had a seminar recently just down the road from me at a gym down the road. And someone I know, I've only met once, but know in the peripheral, he went to the seminar, and he's just starting to implement the approach at his gym. So I'm going to have a chat with him in the next couple of weeks and put it on this channel. Hopefully that is something that is of benefit to everyone. Anyway, what was I going to say? Thanks for joining me on this journey, and I hope you're getting something out of it.